The next morning, Leticia wakes up feeling unexpectedly energetic and brimming with life. She bounds over to her calendar and exclaims,
"Only 11 days until the big race."
She dresses in no time, her spirit buoyant as if she's reverted to her true self. Leticia greets her parents with a bright smile.
"Good morning, Father." "Good morning, Mother."
Andre responds with affection.
"Good morning, Miko."
Sophia chimes in.
"Breakfast is ready."
As Leticia sits down, she begins to outline her plan with earnest vigor.
"I'm going to train daily for the next week and a half. I've fallen behind and need to catch up. I must cover at least 10 kilometers each day. After all, the half marathon is 21 kilometers. This weekend, our coach might let us have the racing field to ourselves to practice the full distance,"
she declares, her words interspersed with bites of her cornflakes. Andre cautions her gently.
"Don't overdo it, Leticia. It's your first official race, after all."
With an irrepressible grin, Leticia replies,
"The first race is as good as any to clinch a victory."
Sophia and Andre share a glance, their well-honed parental telepathy telling them to tread lightly, with an unspoken pact not to dim the bright flame of their daughter's enthusiasm. They mirror her excitement, their smiles as genuine as they are conspiratorial. Later in the afternoon, the coach announces that various running teams will be allowed to use the track field on a strict schedule, ensuring each school and level has a fair chance to train. Leticia's team secures the early Saturday morning slot. He then reiterates how the subgroup's performance could rack up points for their school based on age categories. As typical of teenage dynamics, the girls can't resist whispering and giggling about each racer's chances. For the 13-year-olds, the benchmark is set at 2 hours and 30 minutes. Leticia, paired with Mariana and Livia, aims for that. But the buzz is all about Patricia, who never fails to finish on time, and more so about Olivia, the epitome of beauty, grace, and speed, who this year seems poised to take the crown in the 15-year-olds category. Amid the murmurs, Livia tosses a barb about Fernanda. The girl spouted watermelons on the front and back and can't run any more this year. The comment spurs a wave of laughter, yet Leticia finds herself reflecting on how those mocking words might transform into envy with time. It's a startling insight for her young mind, a glimpse into the complex dance of female relationships that she doesn't yet fully understand. The coach, cutting through the chatter, reminds them that on marathon day, they will be among the last to start. This sparks a ripple of dissent, with murmurs about the unfair assumption that girls can't run as fast as boys. It's a sentiment that galvanizes them, turning their position at the end of the starting line into a collective challenge to defy expectations. The team's spirit soars high, fueled by a camaraderie that is as palpable as it is genuine, with only the faintest hint of rivalry. After a brief but vigorous warm-up, the coach's whistle pierces the air, signaling the 14 athletes to embark on their required run. Olivia, ever the pace-setter, effortlessly crosses the finish line, clocking in under an hour. Leticia, too, feels a swell of pride in her performance. She is determined to demonstrate she can do more than just keep pace. She aims to outstrip her immediate peers. And indeed, she does just that. Each runner pours their heart into the race, the effort clear from the salt-stained singlets clinging to their skin, silent testimony to their dedication. Post-run, during the mandatory cool-down stretches, the coach's praise confirms their hard work has not gone unnoticed. Then, as the girls disperse for showers, the day's intense regimen means Isabella has to wait an extra half hour. To compensate, Leticia treats her friend to some well-deserved sweets, savoring the extra calories as a delicious rebellion against their strict training. After indulging, they hug and part ways, promising to reunite the following day, ready for whatever lies ahead. The week passes for Leticia in a steady rhythm of schoolwork and rigorous practice sessions. Come Saturday morning, the girls' team rises before dawn, ready to face their formidable challenge, their first 21-kilometer run. The early fall morning is refreshingly cool, providing ideal conditions for their trial. The coach, in a serious tone, cautions them about the difficulty of the task ahead, emphasizing that not everyone might finish, and stresses the importance of pacing. As the run progresses, the initial harmony of the group begins to fracture. By the 14-kilometer mark, a few runners start to fall behind. Then, at 16 kilometers, one girl steps out of the race, and shortly after, at 18 kilometers, Mariana too succumbs to fatigue. A boost of morale comes unexpectedly for Leticia half an hour before she completes her laps. Her parents arrive, their presence a surprising but welcome source of encouragement. Fueled by their support, Leticia is among the 5 who triumphantly finish within the allotted time. Their success is met with jubilant cheers, a hypothetical victory that would have brought significant points to their school in a real competition. This shared achievement further cements their bond. On their way home, André suggests stopping for pain de queijo, one of Leticia's favorite treats. However, Leticia, feeling the soreness in her legs intensify, insists on going straight home. Once there, she immediately collapses into her bed, succumbing to exhaustion. Later, she wakes up, her body aching and hunger gnawing at her. Sophia quickly heats up some food, which Leticia eats on the sofa next to her father, who is engrossed in his favorite historical documentaries. Too tired to do anything else, Leticia spends the evening watching TV with him until it's time for bed. Her sleep is restless, filled with slight nightmares. Come Sunday, the weather turns dismal, with rain pouring down as it does in the rainforests. The downpour reflects Leticia's own state. Exhausted, she knows she couldn't possibly run in such conditions, nor does her body permit it. She realizes her physical limitations, even as she thinks about her schoolmates who might be training at that moment. André observes that Leticia, who usually becomes quite a handful when stuck at home on Sundays, is pleasantly different today. She is his loving daughter, contentedly sitting by his side, a change he warmly welcomes. Leticia, for her part, discovers an unexpected interest in the documentaries which she previously found dull. In a similar situation not long ago, she would have been pestering her father to switch to anime. However, this documentary about the colonization of Brazil engrosses her, feeling almost like a familiar story she's revisiting. She is completely absorbed. On Monday, the weather is pleasant again. Leticia's routine oscillates between academic focus at school and rigorous training sessions. However, with each passing day, her 10-kilometer runs become increasingly demanding. The escalating heat and the thickening humidity of April conspire against her, testing her resilience. Come Friday, the coach, attuned to the physical toll, scales back the training to a lighter 5-kilometer run, ensuring the young athletes conserve their energy for the looming Sunday marathon. His advice is stern yet caring. Rest on Saturday, no running. Saturday unfolds with an unexpected twist, setting early April temperature records. While not uncommon in São Paulo's summers, the sweltering heat drives Leticia, her friends Isabella and Sophia, to seek sanctuary in the cool, sprawling aisles of one of the city's largest malls, a blissful escape from the oppressive heat. The night offers little respite from the heat, its stifling grip lingering. Leticia finds herself entangled in a restless slumber, her sleep fractured by the heavy air and the creeping tendrils of anxiety about the race. At the break of dawn, 5:30, the household stirs into life. Fatigue clings to Leticia, yet her burgeoning excitement for the marathon acts as a potent antidote. In a playful sprint, she claims the bathroom before her father, a small victory in their morning routine. Her father, André, with a knowing smile, retreats to the master bedroom, dragging his wife back to bed for a morning cuddle. An hour later, the family mobilizes for the short drive to the marathon's starting line. The journey, typically a brief 10-minute affair, stretches into a 30-minute odyssey through unexpectedly congested streets, culminating in a reluctant parking in a distant lot. The magnitude of the event, evidenced by the throngs of participants and spectators, had caught them off guard. Fortunately, Leticia's start time remains a comforting 45 minutes away. Upon reaching the school's assembly point, they are greeted by their visibly tense coach. His relief at seeing Leticia is palpable, yet his concern for the absent athletes casts a shadow. After handing Leticia her bib number, he ushers her to join her peers, a cluster of nervous excitement. Leticia also noticed that Fernanda and her boyfriend came to support them. As they exchange jokes and shared anxieties, the bond of camaraderie strengthens among them. For Leticia and 4 others, the marathon is an uncharted journey, their first. The air, heavy with heat even at this early hour, buzzes with the anticipation of the runners. The sounds of the starting waves, a distant but constant reminder of the event's scale, reach their ears. Delays are evident, and it's clear their start will be pushed back. The pressure of the event now presses on Leticia's bladder. After a long queue for the restroom, upon her return, her spirits soar at the sight of Isabella and Johanna, alongside her parents, beaming and waving energetically at her. Surrounded now by her most cherished supporters, Leticia's energy surges, her nerves transforming into exhilarating anticipation for the race. Leticia's remind her that they will be waiting at her finish line. The traffic jam in the crowd will prevent them from cheering her out on the course. Merely 5 minutes later, they find themselves poised at the starting line, the collective heartbeat of the runners palpable. Among their ranks, Livia and another teammate are notably absent, adding a tinge of worry to the moment's excitement. The marathon begins with a resounding bang, sending a tide of runners surging forward. Amidst them is Leticia, her heart pounding in rhythm with her strides. She reminds herself of her strategy. Stay within the group of 14-year-olds and conserve energy. If she stays with this group, she is almost guaranteed to complete her half-marathon in the set time. The enthusiastic cheers from the crowd lining the streets create a vibrant but overwhelming atmosphere. Unlike the quiet focus of the running track she's accustomed to, this is a different world. Despite the thrill of seeing her city through the lens of the marathon route, Leticia finds her mind grappling to stay focused on the runners ahead and to regulate her breath. 30 minutes in, and the unyielding heat combined with the oppressive humidity starts taking its toll. Leticia feels sweat bead and trickle down her back, a stark contrast to her usual ease when running 10 kilometers. The sleepless night prior now haunts her, blurring her concentration. As she hits the 1-hour mark, her pace begins to falter. Her thoughts drift involuntarily to her father's documentary, a surprising preoccupation amidst the race. The once smooth and predictable track of her training is replaced by an unpredictable terrain, complete with jarring inclines and sharp turns. The once encouraging clamor of the crowd now pounds in her head like a relentless drum, exacerbating her struggle. Her breath grows labored, and the reality of her situation sets in. She is no longer the confident athlete who could effortlessly conquer distances. Desperation seizes her as she snatches a cup of water from a pit stop, splashing it over her face in a futile attempt to revive her waning spirits. Another half an hour passes, and Leticia's condition worsens. The group she had aimed to keep pace with is now moving beyond her reach, leaving her with a daunting 8 kilometers ahead. Hallucinations start to cloud her vision, initially just fleeting images of barren landscapes, but soon they morph into vivid, disorienting scenes of a man traversing a desert. In a moment of panic, she presses her hands against her eyes, trying to anchor herself back to reality. But her footing betrays her, causing her to stumble into a pothole and almost lose her balance completely. Her disorientation deepens, making each step feel like a leap between disjointed realities. Leticia's run morphs into a staggering, almost drunken gait as her sense of direction falters and her balance wanes. The other runners, engrossed in their own marathon battles, pass her by, oblivious to her struggle. In a moment of confusion, Leticia trips over her own feet, her knees buckling beneath her. She starts to crumple towards the pavement, her descent marked by a slow, sobbing realization of her own vulnerability. Before she can make contact with the hard road, a paramedic, alert and attentive, swoops in to catch her. He skillfully maneuvers through the indifferent crowd, carrying Leticia to a quieter spot on the grass. Gently laying her down, he begins to assess her condition. Leticia, overwhelmed by the abrupt halt to her race, succumbs to a torrent of tears and cries out in a mix of confusion and despair.
What's happening? What is wrong with me? Why can't I run?
The medic, with a calming tone, reassures her that she is in safe hands, offering her an electrolyte drink to help stabilize her condition. As he tends to Leticia, the medic simultaneously radios the first aid medical center, providing them with her details and requesting that they notify her emergency contact number. Andre feels a surge of relief as he spots his daughter 20 minutes later, accompanied by his wife and Leticia's friends. On the grass, Leticia lies curled up, her sobs echoing softly. Andre approaches, carefully lifting her frail body, while Sophia gently cradles her head. Leticia, seeking comfort, hugs her father tightly and buries her face in his shoulder. Isabella and Johanna stand nearby, their faces etched with worry for their friend in distress. The medic calmly explains to the parents that Leticia's condition, severe exhaustion and dehydration, is fairly common in marathon runners, especially in challenging weather. He suggests rest and hydration is key to her recovery. Andre, noticing the light scratches on Leticia's knees, thanks the medic before carrying his daughter to their car, her sobs subsiding to quiet whimpers. Isabella and Johanna bid farewell to the Ferreiras, expressing their hopes for Leticia's quick recovery. Leticia, through her tears, gives a faint but grateful nod to her friends, acknowledging their concern. Leticia is lying on her bed, her eyes fixed on the wall, wrapped in a blanket of gloom. Dressed in her pajamas, her hair still damp, she is lost in thought, replaying the morning's events. Sophia's gentle knock at the door precedes her entry into the room, bearing a tray. She places the tray on a chair by Leticia's bed and sits down on the edge of the mattress, her hand finding its way to Leticia's back in a soothing rub. Sophia's voice is gentle.
It's lunchtime. I've made you soup. You need to eat something.
Leticia turns to see the soup, accompanied by bread and yogurt, and then up at her mother.
I don't understand. I did everything right. I was so prepared. Yet, it felt like I lost control over my mind and body. I felt so powerless.
These things happen. Life has its own flow. It doesn't always follow our plans, be it good or bad. You did your best, and that's what matters to us. There's always next year for the marathon. You'll have another chance.
She lifts Leticia slightly for a comforting embrace. Leticia returns the hug, drawing comfort from her mother's warmth.
Now, have some food. And then, why don't you spend some time with your father?
Sophia suggests, gently kissing Leticia's forehead. She notices a smudge of her lipstick on Leticia's skin and tenderly wipes it away with her thumb. This motherly act brings a subtle warmth to Leticia. With a soft glance, Sophia exits the room. Leticia takes a seat on her bed to have her meal and observes the sky growing darker. Such weather always ends up in a thunderstorm, she thinks. After finishing her meal, Leticia returns her tray to the kitchen and then heads to the living room to watch TV with her father. As the first raindrops begin their dance on the window, a calming sense of intimacy washes over the room. Leticia, seeking a rare moment of closeness, sits beside her father, resting her head on his chest in a manner reminiscent of her mother. Without the murmur of the TV, the steady rhythm of Andre's heart, racing with unspoken emotions, would fill the room. These moments of physical intimacy are increasingly scarce for Leticia. Andre, responding with paternal warmth, wraps his arm around her, echoing the affection he shows his wife, and plants a tender kiss on her head. Sophia, poised to vacuum before the afternoon football matches, pauses at the doorway. The heartfelt closeness between father and daughter prompts her to reconsider. She longs to join in, to share in this intimacy, but hesitates, wary of disturbing their precious bond. This would normally be the time for Andre to review the week's assessments, but today he cherishes the closeness, wishing to prolong it as much as possible. As comfort wanes, Leticia adjusts her position, resting her head on her father's lap. Andre gently pats her hair, a soft gesture of intimacy. Once the show ends, Leticia stands, breaking the spell as she fetches a glass of milk. Returning, she resumes her usual seat, and the tender moment fades. This shift cues Andre to resume his role as a teacher, allowing Leticia the freedom to watch as she pleases, respecting her need for space in this emotionally charged moment. The rain intensifies, its sound a subdued but persistent presence. Leticia, now absorbed in a documentary about the Assyrians, is so captivated that she barely notices Sophia quietly vacuuming. The narrative engulfs her, playing out vividly in her imagination, oblivious to her surroundings. Leticia remains captivated by the documentaries, her attention unwavering as the narratives shift from the tumultuous events of the Second World War in Europe to the intricate history of the Byzantine Empire. Her father, Andre, settles beside her on the couch, rejoining her in her historical journey until Sophia's voice, calling them to dinner, breaks their immersion. As they gather around the dinner table, Sophia gently reminds Leticia that she'll be spending the following day alone at home, a school-mandated rest day for the athletes to recover from the race. Trust in Leticia's independence is implicit. She's deemed responsible enough to look after herself and manage simple tasks like warming her meal. The dinner proceeds in a subdued manner, the usual familial chatter dampened by Leticia's introspection. Her thoughts spiral around the race, entwined with a profound sense of guilt for not meeting her own expectations and the perceived disappointment of her peers. The weight of potential ridicule for her vulnerability burdens her heart, prompting an early retreat from the table under the guise of fatigue. Leticia lies on her bed, gazing at the ceiling, noticing the thunderstorm has calmed and the rain has lessened. She replays the day's events in her mind, checks her forehead for fever, she's fine, and scans the scratches on her knee to evoke the pain, to gauge the depth of her injuries. Nothing serious. She closes her eyes, listening to her mother putting away the plates, her father watching a Sunday action movie, small feet running in the apartment above, motorcycles revving loudly in the street, and then the flashes come. Flashes of a man running in the desert, the same visions she experienced during the race. These are more than mere flashes. She can feel the man's pulse, the scorching sun, the sweat, the fear. She opens her eyes, rolls onto her side, and watches the red digits of her alarm clock mark the passing minutes, trying to make sense of the man in the desert. The clock's digits catch her eye, reading 22:22, a moment frozen in time that signals Leticia it is time to rest. She welcomes the cooler night air, drawing the sheets closer and extinguishing the bedside lamp. The next morning, the first thing Leticia feels is her mother's soft lips on her forehead, followed by her father's on her temple. She barely acknowledges them with a hum. Once she hears the apartment door lock, Leticia rises and sits on her bed with no particular plans for the day. After a brief stop in the bathroom, she grabs the box of cornflakes and starts watching anime, dipping into the box. During the TV commercials, Leticia flips from one channel to another, barely registering what's on, until she stumbles upon the story of India's independence and the exodus between India and Pakistan. This strikes a chord with her, compelling her to watch. Once the historical documentary finishes, she watches the next one about the smallpox epidemic in the United Kingdom of 1870, then another about the powerful Empress Wu Zetian. Without realizing, she moves to the floor, halfway closer to the television. It's not just the stories that captivate her, but the people, languages, writings, and cultures. By mid-afternoon, there's a rerun of a documentary about ancient Egypt. She recognizes the hieroglyphs and the locations. This is when Leticia looks around, realizes the time, and notices she's still in her pajamas. She swiftly changes her clothes, grabs some cash from her drawer, and leaves the apartment at a brisk pace. Leticia enters the internet cafe without stopping. At the counter, she pays for an hour of internet with minimal interaction and sits at the same computer she used a few weeks back. That's when she realizes she's forgotten her notebook. No matter, after only 2 attempts, she finds the puzzle website again. The same dull page appears. Solve the puzzle and win a prize. Remembering the rules of the first puzzle, Leticia completes it with ease. The second puzzle isn't much of a challenge either. Just like last time, Leticia is unfazed by the seemingly impossible task she's just accomplished without a second thought. Now, at the third puzzle, a new challenge presents itself, one she hasn't encountered before. 4 boxes of 4x4 squares, each filled with letters. Each block contains 16 letters, with each block focusing on a specific language. The first one is Akkadian, the second is Classical Chinese, the third is Classical Sanskrit, and the fourth is hieroglyphic. Glancing at the 4 squares, she notices that they don't make sense. She seems to guess the meaning of the characters, but one beside the other have no meaning. This is when that in the Chinese one, a story appears to Leticia, but the words are not in order. With the mouse, she is able to move the characters around, forming the sentence, Ri Ri Xing, Bupa Qian Wan Li, Chang Chang Zuo, Bupa Qian Wan Shi. With daily steps, fear not 1,000 miles. With constant actions, fear not 1,000 tasks. Now understanding the challenge, she focuses in moving the characters around in the other 3 boxes that she does in 20 minutes. The fourth puzzle centers on translation. A classical Arabic sentence reads, Al-aql zina fi ash shabab wa malja fi ash shaib, translating to, intellect is an ornament in youth and a sanctuary in old age. As 5 answer boxes appear, they reveal a dictionary for characters in 5 distinct languages: Latin, Church Slavonic, Old English, Ancient Greek, and Classical Japanese. Despite not fully grasping their meanings, Leticia finds this task strangely intuitive. Then, a new puzzle emerges, testing Leticia's patience. A sentence is displayed in the Roman alphabet but doesn't correspond to any familiar language. After scrutinizing it repeatedly, Leticia identifies it as Classical Tamil. She selects Tamil from a drop-down menu, and a keyboard layout appears, enabling her to accurately input the sentence. Upon solving this puzzle, the screen erupts in a kaleidoscope of colors, announcing, "Congratulations await your prize." Shortly after, a window pops up, revealing a bewildered, elderly woman.
Hello, who are you? Did you solve the puzzles? What is your name, young lady?
In a flurry of panic, Leticia hastily closes all the windows and exits the cafe, her heart racing. Once outside, she takes deep breaths to calm herself, puzzled by the encounter. Who was that crazy woman on the screen? She wonders, her mind racing with unanswered questions. Quickening her pace, she heads home, each step accelerating as if to sever ties with the bewildering event, until she's running, despite the lingering soreness from her previous exertions. Reaching her apartment building entrance, she pauses to catch her breath. Inside the apartment, she seeks comfort in the familiarity of her home, heading to the kitchen to consume the meal her mother prepared, a gesture to anchor herself in normalcy. After cleaning her plate, she settles on the sofa to immerse herself in anime. A half-hour respite until her mother's return restores a semblance of routine to their lives.